I'm just gonna ask for it's pretty broad questions. Yeah. Okay. Stefan Frazier tuning in from Under the Microscope music blog, and I'm here with Flobots and Johnny Five. Anyone else be joining us, or is this? Okay, cool. All right, so just to start it off, I'm curious about your songwriting process.
Sure.
Yeah. How do you kind of start that out? What's kind of the structure you use to really make a song? If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, I mean, every song is kind of born a different way. So, we write collectively. There's 5 of us in the band, and so wherever the idea is born, like whoever first brings the idea to the table, we kind of try to respect that and sort of, bring it to life whatever way we can. But it might start with the bass line. It might start with the viola lick. It might start with a melody or even a verse for a rap.
Cool. So you don't write it out first. It's like you start with an instrument, then you work off of that.
Whatever comes first, because you never know when inspiration's going to hit you. Mm-hmm. So we start with the kernel, whatever that kernel is, and then just like nourish it into a song.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's awesome. So what is your favorite song to perform live? And does it organically happen? Like, I mean, when you're performing live, is it like a different song every time?
It is. It really does depend on the audience. I mean, the audience, whatever their response is to a song can determine what that song is like for that night. So, different places, different songs like hit different ways.
Absolutely. Awesome. So, you are the vocalist, correct?
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So are you thinking about a solo career or anything like that, or?
I mean, I've always done stuff like kind of on the side as well, but Flobots is the main focus.
Okay. And also, how did the band start? What sparked it? What were you doing before that, really?
Started 2005. We were kind of all of us had day jobs, but we wanted to make this music that kind of pushed boundaries and was combined instruments in some unconventional ways. So, we got the band together, and then after a while, we were able to actually get enough momentum locally that we were able to have a kind of national career, and all of us were able to quit.
Yeah, and how did you meet these? Like a violist to a rapper. How did that come together?
We've been friends since we were 10 years old. We've all kind of known each other in different ways, and the Denver music scene is just pretty close knit. So you kind of just meet people and sort of try things out and see what works.
So it's a really tight community, and it's easier to.
I think it's probably similar to the Twin Cities in that way. That I think the music community up here, from everything I understand, is pretty tight.
Oh yeah, definitely. Very cool. So I'm curious because you guys, in your music, you put in a lot of social commentary and political commentary, and I love it. I'm curious, what's your opinion on the recent NSA whistleblower?
Well, it's interesting. We have a new song called Bradley Manning. It's about an Army whistleblower, and so I think this is just one more. This is sort of the new frontier for a lot of these battles. Is that you have individual people that are saying, look, I don't think this is right what I'm doing, and I want the world to know, and they get the information out there. Or I don't think this is right what this entity I'm a part of is doing. And so I think that's incredibly important, and I think it was a very brave decision. I think he's banking on the fact that if he just says, look, I have nothing to hide, I'm going to let everybody know it's me, that the world will rally around him, and I think it's our job to do that.
Right, yeah, it's kind of ridiculous. And also Edward Snowden and the treason allegations. Anything you're curious, want to say about that?
Yeah, I mean, just it's treason to what? You can always, if we think small, then you can be treasonous to the policy of a club.
Right, yeah.
We played a show once where we heard that people were being breathalyzed at the door. Every single person who was under 21 was being breathalyzed, and there was one family that wouldn't go in. So you can violate rules at any level, but I think the question is, what is your allegiance to ultimately? Is it to humanity? Is it to a set of principles? And I think Edward Snowden's showing that his allegiance is to the Constitution, the Fourth Amendment, these higher principles, but it's not. His allegiance is not to the Obama administration blindly or to the NSA blindly.
Right. Yeah, that's not the goal. It's more.
If it starts to violate the principles at a certain point, he says, you know what? I think the world needs to know about this, and and I think that the information he's giving will help us have the conversation that will change some of these policies.
Definitely. Cool. So what musicians influenced? Yeah, totally jumping.
That's fine.
What musicians influenced or inspired you guys musically? Curious.
Someone I realize influences me a lot is Saul Williams.
Oh, far out. I'm
yeah.
very surprised. That's awesome.
Yeah,
He's
I
one of
like
my
him a lot.
favorites.
Yeah, and I realize he definitely has a big influence on me just lyrically. Every band member has kind of a different musical background, so.
Do you know about any of the other band members' influences at all? Or?
Yeah, I mean, I know like our drummer is way into Prince. He's our bass player's way into Tool. The other MCs into kind of all sorts of different music. But I know hip hop wise, he'd be into like Danny Brown and folks like that.
So I'm curious. So I feel like it's not necessarily. It sounds like such different genres you're working with here. Prince to Tool to Saul Williams. It's all over the place. Is it more the ideologies you guys talk about that really brings the band together, or
the combinations? The area we find between us. I mean, it's the common ground that we find will be. Hopefully music that a whole lot of different people can appreciate because it's coming from a lot of different directions. So
right, like
if we all like it. It must mean that someone who likes Tool and likes Bach and likes Saul Williams can all
absolutely
like this and appreciate this music.
Right, that's so cool, man. So yeah, last one. What are some issues that you think should be more adequately publicized right now in the world?
It's interesting, yeah, because there's always the front and center issues that are important to stay. In conversation about like immigration, marriage equality, things like that. And then there are things like, I think the Bradley Manning case is a big deal and it still is not getting quite enough kind of front page.
It's almost like a trend, like people, they find interesting and then it gets boring and then, there's no interest.
That can certainly happen. I think something that never gets talked about enough is our prison population, that we have so many people in prison. Especially in black and brown communities, and they're it's a huge impact on the lives of people in those communities, and hopefully with some of the drug war, like some of the drug policy reform will start to chip into that. Some of the stop and frisk stuff in New York City where people are challenging. I actually have a friend who's involved in a lawsuit there, who's been challenging this law that just targets just young black and brown men mostly, just over and over getting stopped and frisked, and then
right. I mean, yeah, this is such submerged, racism still in our culture, definitely.
Yeah, well, and it's just systemic and institutionalized in the form of the criminal justice system, and I think that's something that often just doesn't get talked about, or people kind of just accept it.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I think it's interesting you brought that up because there's a lot of like evidence now that like they're getting psychologically damaged like permanently. And it's just doing all this stuff that no one is really putting, to the public, really. It's really messed up.
Yeah.
Well, on that note, thanks so much.
Let's not end on that note. I mean, with any one of these things, but the stories may be less well known, or the stories may be kind of submerged. But what's also submerged is the efforts of all the different people in all these different communities to address the situation. So, like I said, I know people in New York City that are turning the tide on this issue, that are challenging.
Right, there are people working to fix these things.
To fix it, and those are the stories that are also not being told. And so we need I think there's always the danger that you just
right. It's
tell
both sides
stories
of the spectrum
things happening, and then you forget to say, but what we also don't know is all these wonderful people who are dedicating their lives to making these changes, and that's what needs to keep us going.
Right. Yeah. Not just the people, not just the prison reform, but also the people working to fix that.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah. Very cool. Hey, well, it's been a pleasure.
Thanks a lot.
Really appreciate it. Absolutely. Take it easy.
Yeah, you guys have a good show tonight as well.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Cool.
Yeah. Thanks so much.
Seeing you there.
Yeah. Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Although we got your name.